Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we are going to explore why you're doing all the things and not seeing results. This is very common for a lot of people out there in the world. I see it often on social media and TikTok. So I thought, hey, let's attack this. So if you're ready, listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
You see it on TikTok?
So I got, I think I mentioned this before. I was tagged on TikTok and this woman's like, you know, guys, when you're doing all the things, you're getting your water in, your 10,000 steps, you're eating protein at each meal, you're managing your stress, because they say to manage your stress, and you're just not seeing results. And I was like, I hear you.
Chances are all of that is not happening.
Correct. So I thought we would talk about it today. And even in my experience, especially as I get older, the forms of progress change.
Yeah.
And that's really important. But also, as we have talked about many times, I mean, there's just so many things that you've been doing for too long that are actually causing you to not see progress.
Well, and I just thought even like if you're doing all those things, they're probably causing, like there's probably something in there that you're doing too much of then too. Like that's a lot of things.
Yeah.
And to not be seeing progress. So what are you going to do more of is what most people think of. And I'm thinking like, what are we going to dial back here?
Right. And we, talk about progress and perfection. And it's like, we also have to rethink about what progress is. And so I thought it'd be a good topic today. And this is probably on top of like all or nothing thinking and that kind of perfect film mentality, a thing that we hear a lot from people coming in. Like, I've tried all the things, I'm not seeing the results. I want to look like I train like I do. I know. I want to show the effort I put in. And I'm like, side note, do you like being a fucking strong ass bitch? Because that's the effort.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. And you have to give that client that's feeling this empathy too, because it's like, I understand, like you are putting in a lot of effort and you're not seeing the results.
Yeah.
And that must be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
I get it. And actually it's so funny because this is a client I'm working with currently. And I had a call with her last week. And so now she's coming to in person. And it's like, so she's similar to the gal you described on TikTok of I got this, I do this, I do this, I do this. And I'm like, so where are you going to move your needle? Like, what more are you going to do? And she's like, I just don't even know. I don't even really like working out 7 days a week.
Ugh,
I know.
Who does?
Yeah. And they're like CrossFit type style workouts. And so I'm like, okay, so there's no, like she uses this app and I'm sure there's structure according to the app, but what she was telling me she does, I'm like, so there's no structure, but you're working out 7 days a week. Then she went on, because she wants to lose body fat. And so she went on MyFitnessPal and it calculated her to eat like 1,050 calories. And so I was like, okay, so what? Like you're going to eat less, plus you still have to work, plus you still have like a lover, plus like, so what are you going to do? And she's like, I'm not obviously going to do any of this, but I just don't know what to do.
Right. Oh, yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Oh, yeah, I would be frustrated too.
It's very frustrating. And, again, it comes back to also looking at things like social media, looking at all the different programs and all the different advice, and you're just trying all the things. And my client went to a doctor. Now, this doctor, I'm going to connect with him because then we may partner with them in some capacity. However, he told her the game changer. So she's strength training and focusing on getting stronger. She is eating in a moderate, I think actually she's in a calorie deficit right now. It's our first one in 8 months. She is doing her walking. She gets about 8 to 10,000 steps a day.
Jesus.
And she has good sleep and all that. And her biomarkers look good. He's like, well, the game changer is going to be zone 2 cardio for 45 minutes at a 6% incline. And I'm like,
what?
If that was a game changer, bro, we'd put everyone on that.
Right. Like, well, and zone 2 cardio varies amongst people too.
Well, and it's just
like your zone walk. 2 might be my zone 1.
Yeah. Well, that was a funny thing. Just a side note, when I used to go to F45 before I started coaching there, they were trying to promote their like heart rate monitors.
Yeah.
And I'd always be last.
Yeah.
Because I was more conditioned. I was in better condition than everyone else there. It'd be like me and the other coach that took the class, and anyways, but so examples again are, the person who is doing all the things like you've talked about. I'm going to give a different example of that. It's the person who is thinking they're doing all the things.
Yeah.
So maybe they are quote unquote good for X amount of days. And then they allow themselves a little bit of leeway and, or they think that I've had a client like this, thinks she's so advanced in regards to portions that she can just eyeball and they get complacent, right? But they think in their heads they're doing all of the things when in all reality, they're lying to themselves.
Yeah.
So there's two people and we're going to talk to both of them.
Okay.
And so the first thing I want to acknowledge is that you're not, truly in a calorie deficit. So again, we're not big fans of calorie deficits. However, calorie deficit is what will help you lose body fat, right? And weight on the scale. Sometimes it's also muscle, as we talked about. And for most people to see results that they want to see, we want to be in a 250 to 500 calorie deficit. And hopefully, if you're doing that correctly, you're working from your maintenance, as we talked about in the reverse diet episode. You're figuring out what your maintenance is and then cutting from there. But what you're saying is they go to something like MyFitnessPal, who's 1,100 calories for your grown ass woman. And you believe MyFitnessPal. I totally get why you would. And you start eating 1,100 calories. 1,100 calories would not sustain a fourth grader, let alone a 40-year-old woman. And so eventually you're going to get hungry and you're going to maybe a little overestimate that tracking, even if you're using the scale, or you just grab a couple of your kids' goldfish because you're fucking starving, or, you go out to dinner and you have the bread, but you're like, I just won't put it in, so you're not truly in a calorie deficit. And I hate to say this to you guys, you're not tracking your food.
Yeah.
I know we don't promote tracking as the end all be all, but if you want to see progress, it really is
the quickest way.
Quickest,
most efficient.
I'm going to say quickest, not in quick fix.
Yeah.
But it's the quickest way to understand what's right for your particular body, your portion sizes, what you enjoy.
Because on the flip side of that, when people talk about why I intuitively eat, that's wonderful. But have you learned how to do that? Or are you just intuitively eating based off of how you feel?
Right.
Because true intuitive eating is truly checking in with yourself constantly while you're having those meals until it becomes second nature. And that takes time too.
I talked to one of my clients because she gets very obsessed with tracking. So of course we're not talking to that person. And so I did give her some guidelines around this I don't think we've talked about this on here. If you want to be in a calorie deficit, we're eating to the point where we can probably have a bit more, but we're trying to make our portion smaller. So the way I explain it is you can get up and do 10 jumping jacks. Okay. Then if we want to eat at maintenance, we can't do the jumping jacks, but we can get up and move around freely. If we want to be in the surplus, we're kind of just sitting there for a little bit and letting our food digest. Right. Yeah. And so that would be the other way to do that. But still, even with our food journal, it's a great option for our clients. But if they're really in the, this mindset of, I want to, change my body and see the progress, tracking food is going to be where you need to do that. And if you're not doing that or you're doing it and not doing it honestly, you're not in a calorie deficit.
Yeah. So again, not tracking with the bites, licks, and tastes. So the little snacky poos that you have on the side, not tracking on the weekends, not weighing your food. If you're just measuring or eyeballing and saying, oh, that looks like 5 ounces, that's what's going to kind of stump that progress.
Yeah. I mean,
or your results rather.
I know for me, we do tell people ounces, grams, and milliliters. Even if you did cups and tablespoons, you're going to be
consistently consistent enough. Right. Yeah. But choose one.
Yeah. Choose one or the other. Yeah. But for our clients, we usually say ounces, grams, and milliliters, just because that again is going to help them with the portion sizes. Whereas you're not always going to have a scoop, you know what I mean? So for me, it's more of the visual of that's 4 ounces of chicken, right? Rather than a scoop of, I don't know how you would scoop chicken, but you know what I mean?
So then let's circle back to your zone 2, man.
Okay.
So not seeing the results because you're only doing cardio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So 80s, 90s, cardio was the jam because cardio burns a lot of calories when you're doing it. However, that does not mean that it's a better option for you. Your body actually adapts to that amount of stress on it and that amount of energy burned. And therefore, during the rest of the day, it will actually pull back.
Conserve
Energy because you just burned a ton. So now for that 45 minutes, maybe you burned a ton of calories, but the rest of the day where you burn the majority of your calories, your body kind of pulls back. It moves you less. You literally won't, like you're moving your foot right now. It won't do that because it's like, I need to conserve energy. And so cardio is definitely not the way to go in regards to like intensive cardio. Walking would be a great option.
I want to say, devil's advocate here, if you enjoy cardio truly, and that's what's actually going to keep you like, I don't want to say motivated, but dedicated to the process that you're looking for, that's one thing. But I will say more likely than not, most of the interactions I have, and again, is that could be who I attract or, you know, kind of the branding that we offer. They actually don't like cardio.
Oh yeah.
They've just been using it. And a lot of times people have done cardio because there's a low barrier to entry. You don't have to, like, you should learn how to run, but you don't have to learn how to run. You just need tennis shoes, probably some headphones and some workout gear, right? Whereas strength training, when you start looking at that, you're like, okay, I need equipment. I got to go to a gym. That's intimidating. And that brings on a lot more stress. And anxiety. So you like being honest, like, do I actually like cardio? No. Then let's learn how to do the strength training, because even you learning is going to burn a lot more calories and be more beneficial long-term, as opposed to pushing through and just doing cardio because like, I want to burn the calories and I want to be in a deficit.
Well, and this episode's about seeing progress, right? So if your goal is to have an athletic, shapely body or just a like great figure, cardio is going to make you actually a smaller, flabbier version of yourself. Why is that? Cardio is catabolic. It pares down muscle. It breaks down your muscle for energy and in an effort to maintain this amount of energy that you're exerting. Whereas strength training is anabolic, meaning it's building muscle. And no matter who it is, the woman that you see who has a shapely figure, where it's a thinner shapely figure or a thicker shapely figure, she is doing strength training. I mean, Jessica Biel is, I think it's Ben Bruno trains her. Like she's tall, but she's doing fucking strength. And Kate Upton too. He just posted
He's got
hers.
Quite a plethora. And I wish I could shadow him for like a week. I know. Because his stuff that he does, I'm like, this is interesting. And there's definitely a body type that goes there.
Agreed.
Chelsea Handler does too. Now that I pop that in my mind. To me, that's not the body type that I'm looking for. I like a little bit more like shapely muscles. Like I like a little bit more, I don't know, rock.
You're more
hardness.
Athletic build, where that's more of like, I think of like leaner, like dancer body almost.
Actressy. Like, so, but his movements are so interesting where I'm like, oh,
pistol squats on the box.
Or he does the, like they'll do the, I forget what it's called, where they're planking from the bench, where their feet are on the bench and then they're pressing out with the dumbbell and stuff.
Like Copenhagen with the dumbbell?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. Sidebar.
Anyways. So cardio. Now, again, adding in something like walking is going to be great, because walking is not a catabolic state. Plus, it's really great for your nervous system and your stress, mental health overall. But again, you might be running for 45 minutes and you may see the scale go down. But again, we're talking about progress. So if that's the only form of progress you're looking at, sure, it'll happen for the first maybe month or two. But again, the body's job with that is to adapt. So it's going to adapt to it. So then you'll hit a plateau.
And you got to run longer, and then you got to run even longer.
and like,
or you could just work out for 20 minutes and be done.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so not focusing on strength training again. Now with strength training, so we're talking about cardio now, let's focus on strength training. With strength training, a lot of people think, well, I'm just going to go move these weights around.
Right.
Women specifically, where they'll grab a 10-pound weight for a squat. Now, I don't know any adult woman who needs that makes sense for, even a beginner. But we'll say beginner. I still think you're stronger than that, but okay. What we're trying to say is, you guys think that you might be strength training, but you're not strength training to get stronger. You're strength training to just move And that's great. Anything's better than nothing, but we're talking about progress. So when we teach people, we are challenging them in whatever rep range we give them. So we have them figure out a weight that is challenging at the lowest end of the rep range. Meaning if it's 6 reps, around reps 4, 5, they're like, okay, I'm getting there. We never train to failure. We train to, I have 1 left in the gas tank, 1 more rep left in the gas tank, but it's going to be a little wonky, right? And then from there, their job is to either increase the reps over time as their form and their strength, continues to feel stronger. And then once they get to the top of the rep range, so remember, we started at 6, we get to 8. They're able to do 8 of those reps for however many sets. So say it's 3 sets with proper form, then they would come back down to 6 and increase the weight. This is what we call progressive overload. I see women not challenge themselves out of this thought they're going to get bulky. And then I see the people who actually trust this process and they're like, holy shit, I look amazing.
Yeah. You know what's so funny is that they don't do that. And then I'm like, okay, in 8 weeks from now, you're going to be lifting over 100 pounds. And they're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's funny because you have it in you. I just don't want to throw you under 100 pounds right now.
No.
But like, I want to show you that you can do 25, that you can do 40, that you can do 60, that you can do 80.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty fun to watch that.
And the client that goes to that doctor who, again, I think everything else, I mean, I'll tell you about his program. It's pretty phenomenal. He does massive labs and like, there's this whole, I think I'm going to go there. It's like $2,500 for the year and you get this whole thing. Bad. It's for healthy people to continue to stay healthy. Yeah. It's not for someone who
like trying to find their health.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, for her, I was just like, what's different about our program? Like, cause you've trained forever. She goes, I've never pushed myself like I do in the gym.
Really?
Yeah. And her body has significantly changed.
Yeah.
And she was eating at maintenance. We're doing a cut right now. The first one again in 8 months. And it's conservative, we're not going crazy and it's awesome. Like she's doing great.
I think that brings up your next point is
what is my next point?
Her results are showing because she was in maintenance for 8 months.
Yes.
So now you're doing all the things you've been in it. I've been trying to lose weight for 10 years now and I can't. It's probably because you've always been trying to lose weight.
Yes.
And now we could go back to like, you weren't actually in a weight loss phase, but mentally you've always been in a weight loss phase.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I always like to okay, because I've had a client before be like, well, now that I'm realizing like, I probably wasn't in a eating less calories, and when I thought I was, and I'm like, that doesn't matter to me. Cause she wants to count that time as her maintenance. And
no, it's not how that works.
And so I'm like, that doesn't matter because you mentally were there.
Yes.
And
I think that's a great point that we've never talked about.
Yeah. It's way different to be mentally in a maintenance phase, bulk phase versus mentally in a calorie deficit phase.
Well, it goes back to you're not truly in a deficit. You're mentally convincing yourself that you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. Now we're going to talk about doing this alone. I think that's a big part of that. You just are kind of, flying, flying, was the
flying by the seat of your pants.
But free balling works better. And that's a big part of this, but that mental aspect of it and thinking it's happening. And then that makes it even more frustrating. But what's actually happening is you're in a yo-yo cycle of restricting and binging. You guys, I want you to think about a wrestler who has to cut for weight and then eats whatever they want. It's so bad on your body.
Go to the bodybuilding.
The bodybuilding too, where everyone gets the hamburger
afterwards and they're looking like a Skeletor. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
It's really terrible on your body, your metabolism. There's even some research that says that when that happens, when you do binge, you actually, or even just overeat. You may not be a binge eater. I know we're using that word freely, which we shouldn't anymore because it's an actual
We can work on
thing.
that.
We'll work on that. Correction corner or whatever we call it. Correction corner. Yes. When we are overeating, eating in a surplus, eating in a deficit, there's research that says you actually, when you are in the surplus, you produce more fat cells. So now we have more room to store fat. Now, again, this is kind of jury is out on this research. So we need to, as we've talked about, And I guarantee this. I had this conversation with a potential client today on Facebook Messenger. I said, the one thing you haven't tried is reverse dieting up to maintenance. Live there for 3 months and then start doing some mini cuts. Mini cuts. I guarantee you will feel better because your body feels safe to let go of its energy store. I know we say it, I feel like we say a lot of the same things over and over again, but your body has been starving and then getting this excessive amount of food and stuff. It doesn't trust you. It doesn't feel safe. So it's just like, I'm just going to store this. I'm just going to keep storing this fat because this chick doesn't take care of me.
Yeah. My story for that is a little bit different. Same thing though, of you restrict. So your body's in a starvation mode. And I'm playing this to the extreme, but it's like, I really want this to come across and hit the client or potential client where you have to realize where the fuck you're headed. So I'm like, your body's in starvation mode. Then we give it food and it goes, oh shit, food. I'm going to hold on to this.
Yes.
And so then you're wondering, okay, why am I eating less? And then I'm not losing weight. It's like, because your body literally needs the energy for you to work, for you to have a relationship, for you to show up and go to the gym. And so it's not going to lose the weight because it doesn't have the time or the energy to lose the weight.
Right.
So if we just let it have enough food for once in its life, it might say, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
All right.
We're not in a stress state anymore. Yeah. Our cortisol is not high. I
or
don't have
even,
a ton of blood sugar in my system.
Not necessarily lose the weight, but change the structure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And even in this, I mean, again, people think maintenance, that's just going to be this like,
fat phase
or like plateau
it's
phase.
The best
it's not.
phase. It's the best.
I mean, honestly, I have been at maintenance for probably this past month, and I'm actually so impressed with my body because
it just is like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I remember this. Yeah. And I don't even need to worry about anything. Right. I wasn't in the cut for very long, and we're just going to go back to business. And I feel leaner than I did.
We'll feel leaner and more energy.
Oh yeah. More energy. Yeah. My lifts are great. So I know it sounds crazy for us to say, if you're not seeing progress, to increase your calories. If you need information on how to do that correctly, so you're not gaining body fat or an excessive amount of weight, you need to listen to the episode on the reverse diet. The next one kills me. Oh, it kills me. Well, my Apple Watch says that I burned 2,600 calories, so I ate 21.
That's crazy because mine says I only burned so today it's at 476. I've only burned 476 calories.
Yeah. Today, so. Well, no, it says a total calorie burn. Yeah.
I mean, I don't look at
I don't know where it's at. Oh,
somewhere.
Sarah has a card due tomorrow. Oh, 10,000 steps. Yay. I think it's on the phone.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's on the phone. So that, and then what they'll also do is eat back those calories.
Right.
On MyFitnessPal.
Yeah.
So we're not using our activity trackers to decide anything except for maybe sleep, steps, and like heart rate variability. We should not be looking at it for our activity levels. Why? Because as Amanda said, and I think this is brilliant, I can put my watch on her. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be like, oh, this is a new human. Let me change.
That's growing a baby.
That's growing
that
a baby.
To eat more.
Let me change the, the data.
Yeah.
They're highly inaccurate in you doing that. So thinking about that person, normally her surplus is like 2,400. So now she's at 20, she's eating at 26 or in this case, 21. So she's probably at maintenance at this point.
Right. And
wondering why she's not losing weight. It's like your maintenance is probably 2,100. Hopefully we can get it up a little bit more, so if we're going to cut you, we're going to cut you down to maybe like 1,750, 1,850 to start. See how we do that, right? We're going to keep your activity level the same, because what you guys don't understand is when we actually calculate your calorie deficit, your maintenance, your surplus, we're also taking an average of your movement. And there's different levels of activity. So you have sedentary, and each level of activity has a multiplier. So we take your basal metabolic rate, which is your resting metabolism, and each of the levels of activity have a multiplier. Sedentary, lightly active, which is 1 to 3 workouts, about 4,000 to 6,000 steps a day. But moderately active, 4 to 6 workouts, 6,000 to 8,000 steps a day. You have very active, which is 6 over workout. Yeah, 6 over. 10 to 12,000 steps a day. And then you have like people who have like crazy jobs where they're like super active. But most of our clients are between moderately active. And I do have a client who's very active that I'm trying to get into moderately active. So I'm sorry. We have clients between like sedentary and moderately active on average. And what we're looking at is your activity level on average for a week and over a period of time. Like, what do we assume you're going to be doing for the next 4 weeks to have this calorie deficit? But when you're using this guy, you're completely off. And this is a big, big reason people
You know what I
see
thought of when you were talking about this is that it's funny because before the watches and stuff came out, it was the treadmill or the elliptical and the stair stepper.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all found out, or I would say more people now know that those calories are inaccurate,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's funny because now we still think these ones are, just because it's like on our wrist taking our biometric data.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, no, same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Here's what it's not taking into account too, is that
Stress.
I'm
sleep.
5'5".
Yeah.
I'm 153, 54 pounds. I'm probably, I don't know, what do you think I am body fat percentage? Like 22, 21?
Probably.
Yeah.
20s.
Which is
Fine.
like athletic, right? Yeah. I wrote this.
I know. I always need to see the picture.
Yeah. It's a fitness level of body fat for a woman. And what that means is my basal metabolic rate is higher than a 5'5" woman at 153, 54 pounds who is 30% body fat.
Mm-hmm.
Our resting metabolism is significantly different based on the amount of muscle that I have in my body. And this doesn't take into account any of that.
She flexed her arm to show her muscles for those not watching.
Also, sorry about the non-video from last episode.
We're learning.
And our technology isn't working. So if anyone wants to just take over, we'd love that.
Yeah.
And again, the other thing is in MyFitnessPal, if you are tracking your food, turn off
the activity
thing where it minuses or it adds back the food.
Yeah.
Y'all, this will be the fastest way to gain a shit ton of weight.
Right.
You should not be eating back. We're trying to lose weight.
Right.
You're eating less than you're moving.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yes.
And this thing's like, no, come back and eat this back. Then we're just at maintenance and probably in a surplus.
Well, even if you're not trying to lose weight too.
Yeah.
Don't add it. Yeah. Because even if you're at maintenance, now you're going to be eating in a surplus probably.
Yes.
And then if you're a surplus, you're a triple surplus, which you really don't want.
Well, and it's also saying like, oh, you burned 500 calories in that workout. So let's eat 500 calories back. No.
It's a whole meal essentially.
Correct.
Let's put it that way.
So I would really be, don't do that. I'm not even going to give you a recommend, like a maybe not. No, don't do it. We're not using activity trackers. We're not eating back the meals because that is a huge reason you are not seeing progress.
Yeah.
Another one
that we touched on is what the watch doesn't measure is stress.
Stress.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, that's a huge one. Our watch doesn't know how stressed out we are.
Uh-huh.
So high stress is one of the worst things that we do to our bodies. And unfortunately for a lot of us, it's our norm.
Yep.
It's our common thing that we feel. High stress in the body not only creates a space where the body, again, doesn't feel safe to let go. It almost goes into, when people say survival mode, they say, oh, I'm starving. It goes to survival mode. It can go to survival mode under high stress, right? Because we're now in the sympathetic nervous system. Mm-hmm. We're in a fight, flight, or freeze. Fight and flight have different physiological responses than freeze does. So I'm just going to stick with those. We have this high level of cortisol in our bodies. Cortisol is used for us to run. It gives us energy to run or to fight, right? And so when we are just stressed because our boss just yelled at us, we're not going to fight our boss, right? We may just be stuck sitting there in our cubicle. And so now we have all this cortisol. When cortisol comes into our body, the way that we get energy is through blood sugar. Blood sugar then will be transported to the cells through insulin for this process to work. When this is constantly happening, then our insulin's like, I don't have any room for this. Like, I don't have any room for the rest of this blood sugar. And it becomes insulin resistant. On top of that, high cortisol levels can mess with your hormones. your testosterone, your progesterone, your estrogen, because it almost steals from pregnenolone, and we use progesterone to create more cortisol in the body. And now we have this metabolic panel that's all fucked up that can affect your thyroid. It's this compounding factor that if we don't get in line, it's going to be really hard for us to see progress.
Yeah. And I think so. What I hear you talking about is stress, or actually, let me rephrase that. What a lot of people are going to think is just my life is stressful. It just is. And it's when we start looking down at the breakdown of what is causing the stress in your life, it's work, my relationships, my kids,
my belief about myself,
and then me trying to perform. And so then what do? Is I exercise more because now the exercise becomes stress relieving. However, what we're doing is actually adding more stress. So I'm in a vicious cycle of these hormones that are all taking from one another. Then I'm not getting my period maybe, or my hormone panel has gone to shit, and my doctor, like, this is when people go, it's my hormones.
Right.
That is the issue. And it's like, but why are your hormones acting that way? Is there truly a deficit in your body producing testosterone or estrogen? Because that's one thing. But if I can look at what you're doing externally and look at your lifestyle factors, that's another. And so when you're going, I'm not seeing results. And then I'm looking at your life and going, well, yeah, it's pretty stressful, self-induced most of the time. And I don't mean that like to downplay, because there are some professions that are more stressful than others, but most people self-induce their stress,
right?
Whether that's through trauma and the unresolved trauma, or just kind of taking on everything. So like going back to
People
our toxic
pleasing.
Resilience conversation as well.
Yep.
And so that's where the hard work is not taking care of your hormones. The hard work is really going to be setting boundaries. The hard work is really be turning off your phone after 5 p.m. because they're not paying you after 5.
The hard work is to go into your upbringing and resolve a lot of the trauma that triggers a lot of the things, the behaviors and beliefs that cause you to do too much. They keep you in this cycle of stress.
To have the hard conversations with your significant other that you've been trying to avoid.
Right. The hard work is sitting in your body and asking it what the fuck it needs in that moment.
So, but a lot of people are going to try and avoid that, right? So they rather work out more, restrict the calories more,
and get HRT or something.
Yeah. And,
which we're not against HRT.
Right. Or I think every woman should get HRT at some point in their life. Right.
But we're gonna focus on lifestyle first.
But yeah, if your lifestyle is stressed and fucked up, and then you're exercising, you're going, well, I don't know why I'm not seeing results. And then you go to get a hormone panel, and they're like, oh, it's because your hormones. And this is where having a good
testing cortisol.
Yeah.
And
that's
probably what you're gonna say.
It's okay. No, I was gonna say, but this is where having a good doctor is really important, because if you go to I don't want to say the wrong doctor, but a certain type of doctor who just looks and goes, well, yeah, like we got to fix this. And they're not asking you about your lifestyle, then they're missing a huge place, because now you're just taking hormones, which is great, if they're making you feel better. And maybe it's like a chicken and egg thing too. Maybe the hormones do let us like sit back and kind of reassess our life, but more likely than not, that client's not doing that.
Right.
They're just going to dive further into this.
Well, and hormones aren't like a magic pill either.
They take a lot of tampering.
Right. And they may even make you more irritable. So it's so important that we start managing that in some capacity, right? Whether that's a practice every day. I always say, set a reminder in your phone, check in with yourself. It's super important. There's so many journaling, meditation. I talk about all the time. I use the Brain FM. Walking is amazing, you guys. Walking is going to help you with mental clarity. It's going to get fresh air. You're going to get some vitamin D. You're moving. You're in nature. It's so awesome. But your stress, and this in the original thing, she's like, I'm managing stress because I need to, right? So for her, that may not be the issue, but for most of you, it is. And it's always my high achievers. They're doing all the things. They want to do more. And their body's just like, fuck you. Like, I'm not going to do this.
About to sneeze.
So, I was like, are you booping yourself?
No. I'm pressing my nose because I'm about to sneeze. And I sneeze really bombastically.
Well, we can cut it out.
Yeah, that's true.
The last
Well, you're
one.
on a good like flow, so I was like, oh no, she's riffing. She's riffing.
I'm going ping pong, ping pong, ping pong.
Girl, let it go. Okay, last one. And I would say this is probably the most important.
Yes.
Because it's going to be really hard for a client to turn around, look in the mirror, and be honest.
Of course.
Yeah, they're not going to be like, oh, they're right. I probably am really stressed like about my significant other right now and just our relationship.
Right.
Like, no.
You need to work with
I probably shouldn't be eating 1,200 calories. Like,
well, especially when you haven't done any of this.
Yeah.
And you've never learned any of this. Like having
and then you're getting
coach
information just thrown in your face.
Exactly. Having someone to help you. I'm saying it closer to the mic because you is very important. It's important not only in the process, but the coach that you choose.
Yes.
Because y'all do this. You're like, well, I am working with someone. We're on a challenge. I'm like, that's the same shit they're doing for Jane over here is doing for you. That doesn't make sense. With my clients who maybe have issues with inflammation and blood sugar, I'm going to focus on, glycemic load and like very specific things for them. Whereas my client who's just trying to like change her body composition, we're eating a ton of protein. We're focusing on lifting heavy. My client over here who, she actually has a jaw thing or like stress from trauma and it affects her jaw. So I have to teach her how to eat in a way that doesn't aggravate that while we're still doing the work on. It's all so specific. And when it's that custom, that is when we're going to also see results because it's your body, it's your mind telling us, and we're working together. Like you said, we're creating a plan together rather than just for you. Yep. And that's so important. A plan with you instead of a plan for you.
Well, and if you want the plan for you, that's no different than just like going to Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or something like that too. Mm-hmm. So like let's backtrack this. In your life, when have you had a plan for you? Specifically for you, that someone sat down, asked you questions, looked at a questionnaire that you filled out and said, can you tell me a little bit more about this statement? Mm-hmm. And then you were able to explain yourself. Right. When is the last time that happened?
Even some of the best coaching programs, they're literally getting an assessment.
Yeah.
And cutting your calories.
Well, and even some, like I've thought about doing a couple. And so I've done like their intake form and then they go into a pressure situation. Like where we're signing up people within 2 days. So you have to decide. And I was like, well, I just kind of want to see like what you guys offer and like pricing options and stuff and like think about it for a second.
Right.
So if you feel like pressured to do it, if, for example, if I have a client consult call and they're like, I don't know. I'm kind of like, you need to wake up the next day ready to do this because it's not like I kind of want to work on it or I'll just have her do my nutrition. It's like, no, because your nutrition is coming from your beliefs about yourself and this restrictive pattern.
Yep.
I can't just do your nutrition.
No.
And I had to learn that too myself of like, if I haven't worked.
She used to get frustrated. Yeah. She's like, they need to work on this thing. And I'm like, I know. And we took away.
Well, that's why we changed the program. Yeah. Because it's like, we can't just work on your exercise. I can't just write a program for you if I don't know you.
Right.
And it's very challenging because that's what most people want. Just give me the program. Just tell me what to do nutrition wise. And it's like, you're missing the whole mark of all of this.
You're dependent on that person.
And now I haven't taught you anything. So, and that doesn't benefit me because now you're dependent on me and constantly asking me things instead of processing and kind of figuring it out and brainstorming with me. That's different. But also you haven't really learned where these behaviors come from. And that's what makes our program different. Again, knock on our program, but that's what makes it different. If your coach is not helping you or you don't feel like you're making progress or you're not really sure, you just need to hire.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let it go. Like you don't pay, for example, if you need a mole removed, you probably go to the dermatologist, right? If you need help with your nutrition coaching and even if we're like, oh no, this is a dietitian type thing, we're going to refer you to a dietitian. Right. If I'm like, oh no, this is like a therapy thing where I am not qualified, I'm going to say, you should probably work with Christina.
Right.
And so it's thinking of that too, of like, is this person going to refer me to the people that can help me as well?
Absolutely. It's, and again, I said it and you're saying it here too, is you really have to be selective.
Yeah.
There is an investment to our program that is the most hands-on. It is a bit of an investment and we do get some kickback from that. And I think the reason why is people
kickback, like as in pushback.
Pushback.
Okay,
thank you. People compare it to these people who are just like putting them in a calculator, giving them their macros, maybe having a check-in where they maybe say like 2 lines to them, whereas ours is very, very hands-on. Now we are creating different tiers of our program so that my goal is everyone can at least get their hands and their minds into the method, because I truly want to help people. However, in that top tier program, which is weekly call with your coach, a reflection every week on a different topic that goes through the method that's going to help exactly what you're saying. People, for your coach to understand you from a level that maybe your fucking husband or partner doesn't even understand you. Like, we get deep. We then get to utilize all of that, plus understand your nutrition, what are small changes we can make, your schedule, your commitments, what's important to you, your values, create an exercise program that fits into that. And also understand your body. You know, we have data, we have, weight being one of them, measurements, photos. We may even ask you, like, I'll ask people to rate their anxiety and stress, put their sleep in, whatever it is. We can even put like your blood pressure in our system if we wanted to. And so then we understand your body. And I will say, the more I do that, we should probably extend the program for a couple more months, because for the first, like, I feel honestly now like 6 to 8 weeks, it's really discovery specifically around my perimenopause and menopause clients, that I'm really like taking an inventory of everything they're eating. For some of them, they like, a couple of my clients had glucose monitors. So now we're taking that into perspective. And yes, it is, more of an investment financially. But if you think about it, okay, maybe I invest, we'll say over the course of the year, you may spend, I don't know, $6,000 with us, right? But then you've got this whole foundation. You have this whole foundation. You understand yourself. We talk about creating that plan that makes sense for you, teaching you how to be flexible with it, recreating the beliefs. More importantly, recreating the beliefs that keep you stuck. And that's so important. Whereas what you'll do instead, the people give me pushback, is hire that other coach.
For cheaper
coach, put them in the calculator, spit out their macros, give them a written review, hope they lose weight so that they can use them for testimonials. And
then be back at 5 years.
Right. And not all coaches are like that. Again, we align ourselves with people who are not like that, but that's who people compare us to. And honestly, I know I created this program. There's literally no fucking comparison. There is no other person who is a personal trainer, nutrition coach, and licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession. I know one girl who's a psychologist and works more on binge eating, but I don't believe she's a PT. She's a PhD, and she gears her program more towards teaching coaches how to do this, which people have asked me to do. And I'm like, let me scale my business first before I help you with yours.
Right. I'm not opposed to helping people. Like, and that's one thing too, for if there's a coach listening, you need to get your shit together to start doing this, because sometimes I'll see stuff on the internets and I'll be like, have you tried this part? Like, you're totally missing the mark of like her mental status. And they'll be like, well, she's really reversing, or she's really resistant to the reverse diet. And it's like, she's not even fucking there. Like, why are you even talking to her about a reverse diet? Like, why is she resistant? Well, I don't know. She just doesn't understand the benefit of it. It's like, she understands the benefit. Trust, like, she doesn't want the benefit because she doesn't believe the benefit, because it's not for her for whatever reason. So what is the reason?
Right.
And like, work on that.
It's really understanding the perceived problems that clients come in with, and what we know the underlying problems are, not just changing behaviors. And that's what I see a lot too. But just coming back to this, you guys, like, when you try to do this on your own and or do it with a coach that quite honestly is not trying to get to know you inside and out, like, you're going to be stuck. You're not going to see progress, because you're going to look for someone on the internet to give you a plan, to follow their workouts. They may even be free, but that's for them.
Yeah.
And their bodies, circumstances, age, weight, genetics, everything is so different.
Right.
And you're just going to, and you might do the plan, but it just doesn't work for you for whatever reason, and you're just spinning your tires. So
That's that.
That's that. So if you want to see results
And feel better,
we are, I'm very excited. We have a plethora of programs.
Yep.
I'm going to start a pre-sale for those of you who are like, look, Christina, I can't invest a lot to this, but I want to learn how to change my beliefs, to change my behaviors, to change the outcomes and see the results that I desire. We're going to start pre-sale on our fully self-guided mindset method program. We will have some upgrades to help you create nutrition and workout plans. This will be for yourself because, again, it's all self-guided. Well, we have our group cohort coaching program that offers coaching through a group style, where we have the mindset method and the reflections that we talked about for you to go through on a weekly basis. Plus, we also have a journal prompt each day to help really integrate this information and solidify the new insights that you've received. We just added to that the option to also include custom nutrition and workout coaching. Then, of course, we have the Mindset Method, our flagship hands-on program that offers our one-to-one coaching, one-to-one meetings with your coach weekly, access to your coach via our app, so much more. And so if you're interested in this and seeing progress, however that looks, whatever option you desire, you can click the Clarity Call link below, and you and I, or you and Amanda, will have a conversation on what makes the most sense for you.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, you'll find us on Instagram at fitbyamanda.az. Hey, I took yours.
I was like, that's okay.
And at The Mindset of Matter Coaching, you'll find us on YouTube at The Mindset of Matter. I'm sorry, Instagram
Your Mindset of Matter.
I know.
There's no the.
There's no the on Instagram. It's Mindset of Matter Coaching. I should just change it. You'll also find us on TikTok at The Mindset of Matter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have questions on anything we said today, please fill out the questions link in the show notes below.
Yes.
And if all else fails, just remember this one thing.
What you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror.
Peace.
Toodles! Thank you for listening to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. If you find this information helpful, please subscribe to our channels on Spotify and Apple iTunes, and or give us a 5-star rating and review. We love the love, and we'd love for you to share this with people you love as well. Once again, thanks for listening.